Brown County judge presiding over a murder and dismemberment case made significant decisions today. He ruled on more than a dozen motions, that is, for the upcoming trial of Taylor Schabusiness. Brittany Schmidt listened throughout 7 hours of that court hearing today and tells us the decisions that will affect this trial.
25-year-old Taylor Schabusiness, accompanied by 2 deputies, sat beside her defense attorney, Chris Freilich, all day as he asked the judge to suppress statements she made while in police custody after the alleged crime in February of 2022, saying she was under the influence of meth and marijuana.
But I think that the drug usage, the chronic drug usage that has been testified to here, eroded, impaired, and affected my client's ability to accurately recall things, and that her accuracy as to reporting is subject to serious doubt.
Brown County Judge Thomas Walsh viewed all 7 hours of the taped interviews himself. Here's his observation.
She's able to recall when asked a question. We know she's able to recall accurately because the information that's coming from those who are processing the site is consistent with what she's telling the individuals conducting the interview. For example, she explained where the controlled substance would be found in the basement, and that's where it was found.
Judge Walsh denied the defense request to suppress Schabusiness's statements to police. He also found she voluntarily waived her Miranda rights.
And she was tracking with what they were saying, not confused or demonstrating, I don't know what this is about or what we're doing here. Her demeanor seemed consistent with somebody who understood what was going on.
As far as another request for a competency evaluation by the defense, the judge said no.
Suffice it to say, there have really been 4 competency evaluations conducted in this case since it began, and none of them determined that Ms. Schabusiness was not competent to proceed in this case.
The judge also denied the defense's request to dismiss the 3rd-degree sexual assault charge against Schabusiness. In the last hour of court Tuesday, the defense, prosecution, and the judge went over potential photos to be used at trial. The judge did suppress some photos due to the graphic nature.
And showing this photograph, quite frankly, I think really could shock the conscience of a jury.
Judge Walsh also noted he would like to have 4 alternate jurors selected for this trial, scheduled for July. In Brown County, Brittany Schmidt, Action 2 News.